Hey there, I'm Ben Frisch with Get Digital Support, and welcome to another one of our webinars. Today we are talking about Google Ads. So maximizing your business growth with Google Ads. We're specifically going to build out a search campaign from start to finish. So that is what we're doing. We're going to jump over to Google Ads in just a minute. But first, I want to mention about Get Digital Support. We're based in Collingwood, Ontario, where we are a local digital service squad. So essentially, it's part of the Digital Main Street program, and we still have a bit of funding currently in 2024 through the town as well to provide some free digital marketing support and service to local businesses. But in a broader sense, we've been around since 2022, providing these services to businesses all across Canada. We really focus on education, digital marketing resources, webinars, and even consulting services. So if you have any questions, digital marketing strategy that you need help with, head on over to Get Digital Support and check that out. We've got lots of tools and resources to help you. And speaking of resources, we do have a marketing plan template that would also be helpful in building out your ad account or your campaign. So check that out as well before maybe you get into actually sitting down to create your ad account. It's just a way of planning everything in advance to just make that a little bit easier. But for today, I'm just kind of winging it to get the campaign built and ready to go. So I'm just going to disappear for a second while we talk about the next thing real quick. BeFresh Marketing Group. So Get Digital Support is part of the BeFresh Marketing Group. Other brands include 20 Sharp, which is our web design development, SEO, and ad account agency. And so that's where you'll find all of our services specific to those topics. And then BeFresh Media, of course, is our video production and content creation agency. So everything video, photo, design, that's what we do there. And yeah, if you do actually need help managing your ad account, 20 Sharp is where you want to go to inquire about getting help managing your ad account with our team. And really, our agenda for today is pretty simple. We are going to go right into Google Ads and start setting up a search campaign from start to finish. So another quick little transition here, and here we go. We are at Google Ads. Oh, wait, there we go. So just want to get that bar covered at the top. So presumably you have created an ad account. That can almost be a whole other webinar in and of itself. But yeah, if you head on over to ads.google.com, this is what you're going to see with that account already started. The first thing we're going to do is just jumping right into it. We're going to hit new campaign. So we're in the overview section, by the way, too. So that's where you'll see this new campaign button. So we're going to click on that and we're going to create a new campaign. If you have some drafts that you've already started, you can pick up where you left off with those. But for the purpose of this, we're going to go from start to finish, building out this campaign. So it starts with an objective. What is the objective that we're trying to achieve? We've got our options are sales, leads, website traffic, app promotions, awareness and consideration, local shop visits and promotions, and then you can create one without one of these goals. So I mean, some of these are fairly self-explanatory. Sales, we want to make sales. Leads, we want to generate a lead, whether that is phone calls or form submissions through our website, whatever. If we just want to get traffic on our website, that's an option. The app promotion, of course, if you have an app, awareness and consideration. This is more for just brand advertising, getting your name out there, getting people to think of you, remember you. Local shop visits and promotions. So these are usually map driven, getting people into your location. And then, of course, one without a goal. So for the purpose of this, we're going to stick with a sales ad. And again, this is to drive sales online, in-app, by phone, or in store. So there's different options there. And when we click on that, it's going to open up one of those options being our conversion goals to improve sales. So just as a definition, the term conversion refers to like our end goal. So typically that means like a sale. A conversion being we've converted a user to a customer. That's what that means, where it comes from. And so, yeah, typically it means a conversion means a sale, or again, if you're a service-based business and you're doing lead generation campaigns, a conversion could mean, a lead came in and essentially it's our tracking mechanism for the campaign to know how successful it is. What is our return on investment? And when we are tracking sales, this is the most effective way to do that, because we will get, we'll have that revenue data to understand what is our return on investment when it comes to how much we're spending on ads and how much we're actually making from those ads. So, not to confuse you, I mean, this is my personal ad account. So, we are a service-based business, of course, and therefore, we've got our lead forms and phone calls, like those lead generation conversion actions set up in our account. And ideally, if you're setting up a sales account or sales campaign, you will want to make sure that you've got a sales conversion goal set up. And I will say the easiest way to do that is making sure that your GA4, your Google Analytics account, is connected to your Google Ad account, and that will give you a really easy way to connect and make that purchase. Because when you've got the purchase, e-commerce purchase set up as a conversion in Google Analytics, it'll pull that data across and you'll be able to see it on this list and you can select it. And that is a lot simpler than some of the more technical ways that you can set that up. So the easiest way, just make sure that your Google Analytics account is connected to your ad account. And we can remove some of these. So that one was redundant, like the lead form versus the submission booking. It was the same thing. So we don't want to record the same thing twice. That will just double our numbers and give us incorrect data. So you can always add a goal. But for now, I'm just going to leave this the same. So essentially, these would be our conversion goals. But again, just to confirm, we are setting up a sales campaign, even though my goals are a little off in that regard. But so when you hit next, continue, we're going to bring up our campaign type. So another option you have is we've got search campaigns, which are, obviously just getting in front of high intent customers, they say, at the right time on Google search. So these are your Google search ads showing up right in Google search when people are searching for your keywords. It's as simple as that. And Performance Max is kind of a all-in-one campaign type, which incorporates both text, images, so display, as well as video. And so it can be a really sort of multi-purpose ad type, campaign type that can do a lot of different things. So these are pretty good in that, they will be able to get in front of people all across the web, across the display network, the search network, YouTube. It's pretty extensive. My only hesitation there, though, is that much like display, which is just your sort of banner ads and your your traditional kind of digital ad placement, is not necessarily as effective as search for things like those sort of direct sales campaigns. And that's because you just don't get a lot of people clicking on them, to be quite honest. And what we have found to be effective, though, is using either display or mostly Performance Max as a retargeting strategy, meaning we're going to set up this campaign to only target people who have already been on your website. That way, it's a more narrow audience. It's an audience that's already familiar with you, and it's a way to sort of capture or recapture their interest and bring them back to your site if they haven't perhaps completed a checkout or converted to being a customer. And so we do find a lot of good results with using Performance Max as a retargeting strategy in that way. But for today, we're going to set up a search campaign. But I'll just give you a rundown on the rest of these two. The shopping being, if you run an e-commerce store and you've ever seen the products, when you search in Google and you see an actual product across the top, the way to get your products in that placement is with Google Merchant Center. And once you have Google Merchant Center connected to your e-commerce store, you can create a shopping ad, which would then be essentially an ad for the placement of those products on Google. So these are also can be really effective because, again, these are search ads. People are looking for that product, and it's really cool because they can see that thumbnail, they see the picture of it, they see the price, and they can compare with all the other your other competitors. And if they like yours, they click on it, they can buy it within just a couple of clicks. So it's really convenient, a really good shopping experience. And so I definitely recommend, at least if you have an e-commerce store, get it connected to Google Merchant Center, and then potentially explore those shopping ads. And then video is getting your video on YouTube, essentially. So just running YouTube ads. That's how you do that. A lot of people ask often, how do I get my ad on to show up on YouTube? This is how you set it up. And they can be, again, they're really effective from either a lead generation standpoint or awareness. I always feel like there's not enough local businesses advertising on YouTube because it's such a widely used platform. It's a great opportunity to get your message in front of people, get your brand in front of people, and I just don't see it very often. So, get on it. Start doing some YouTube videos, YouTube ads. But then demand generation is about driving demand with YouTube, Discover, and Gmail with images, video ads. A little bit like Performance Max, but I think it's just more kind of broad in that sense. But again, we are going to create a search ad for today. And when we click on that, we get the last option, or one of the last options, which is select the way you'd like to reach your goal. Is it through website visits, phone calls, or shop visits? So that'd be in-person visits to your location. And so each of these is going to give you different options. But I think for the most part, most of us are looking to increase those e-commerce sales. And so we want to drive people to the website to complete those sales. And for the purpose of this exercise today, I'm just using this Guitar Factory website as an example, just to for no other reason than it just kind of gives us something to think about in terms of keywords and how we can arrange things and create different buckets for those keywords and things. So what you'll do is you'll just paste your website URL right in there. And we're going to hit continue. And we're going to name the campaign. I'm going to call it something completely different just so that test campaign, so that I know what it is. October, 2024. I do like putting a date on there so that, when you look at all the different campaigns that you have in your dashboard, you can differentiate, either it's by season or maybe by product type, that kind of thing. Sometimes you'll create one, for holidays. So then, if this was like our holiday ad campaign, we could turn it off, as of the end of December, but then leave it, and then we can go find it again October 2025 and restart it if we want to. So anyway, just another way to do that. I do have some drafts started because I've run this a few times. So I'm going to say, no, don't use these drafts. Let's start a new one. So I'm just going to reload this because it wanted me to. So now we're into the campaign settings here, as we sort of build out our ad campaign. We're going to start with bidding. It's asking for, how do you want the ads to be bid on? Without getting into it too much, I mean, usually, like, because our goal is conversions, we want to make that sale. We're going to just leave our bidding option as conversions. So that means they're going to, really try and target people who are likely to make a sale, to convert, and therefore, it'll hopefully really optimize that campaign in a way that, just makes it more successful. You can set a target cost per action, but that's optional. We're going to skip that for now. When it comes to customer acquisition, so acquiring these customers, do we want to go for only new customers or new and existing customers? Typically, we find, we're going for both new and existing customers, so we leave that unchecked, especially if we do check that. At this point of the game, it's telling us that, or at this point of the setup, it's saying this campaign will not run. You have to assign another audience segment with at least 1,000 active members. we're going to get into audience segments, so we'll leave that off for now, just to make it easier for now. So we're going to hit next. And then this is where we get into, so networks being, where are those ads going to show up? We have two options from, the first being Google Search Partners. So ads can appear near Google search results and other Google sites when people search for items that are relevant to your keywords. There's also the display network. So they say ads can appear on relevant sites, videos, and apps across Google, like YouTube and the internet, when you have leftover search budget. I tend to click this off. I don't like it. I mean, mostly just from a user perspective. Anytime I see those ads, they look really spammy. It's essentially just a text ad in the place of a display container. So, there's like a square where there's usually like an image ad, but then they put this text ad that just looks spammy, and it's not a good user experience from my perspective. So I just generally unclick that because I don't like them. But then we've got locations. So this is really important, obviously, in terms of like, where do you want to show your ad in order to get in front of the right people. So not only are we going to target people who are searching for your keywords, but we can target them only in specific locations as well. So this is really important, obviously, but sometimes it's kind of not given enough consideration, or not a lot of consideration. By default, the location is all countries and territories. So that's the entire world. I've yet to find a client that wants to advertise to all countries and territories. Even all of Canada is pretty rare. Like, if you have a if you're selling products online already before you get into Google advertising, chances are where a lot of your customers are coming from. You can find that in your analytics. You can find it, just in your analytics. That's all you need to do, is check that and see where they're coming from. Because essentially, like, you want to try and go after that, sort of lowest hanging fruit, so to speak, by targeting, probably city centers or regions that are already familiar with your brand. They're coming to your website. People are buying your products there. Because, I mean, essentially, if you start in a new market with no information of whether or not people are going to buy from you, it can make it harder in judging whether or not, this campaign is going to be successful, because you don't really have much else to benchmark it against, or any kind of data to run against it to see, is this worthy of our advertising dollars? It's kind of going blind, right? So I often recommend, let's look at your analytics, understand where do we want to show these ads in places where we're more likely to make those sales. So that's where you can get into specific locations. And I often recommend, not often, I always recommend pulling up the advanced here. And this pulls up a map that we can start pinpointing those locations that we want to target. So the options are location or radius. So location is like the actual like borders of that city or region, or could be province, country, what have you. Or radius, of course, is just like draw a circle around this location. So let's just say, for example, my my guitar shop is in Collingwood, Ontario. So I would go, if I wanted to include Collingwood, Ontario as a location, but probably you do if that's where you're based out of. So we can edit this. Let's say kilometers, and let's go 50 kilometers around Collingwood. So that punched it up a little bit, brought in Barrie, Midland. So we see exactly where this is targeting. You can add as many locations as you want. So like if we wanted to also add Toronto and the GTA, we can go include. Again, I'm gonna punch this up, kilometers 50, or let's go like 100. Boom. So you can see now we're getting a big section of the GTA, kind of southwestern Ontario there. But one interesting thing too is that it is dipping into the United States a little bit. So if we wanted to, let's say, exclude the US for whatever reason, we can go back to location and go United States and go to exclude instead of include. So now we can see US is red and our target area is blue. Again, we can continue adding as many cities. Let's just go like Vancouver. Oh, not exclude. I can take that off the list and I can go again. Oh, it would help if I spelled it properly. I'm going to include it. And there we go. So now we see again, Vancouver's blue. Toronto and Collingwood are blue. And the US is red. So hopefully, excluding that if that's something that you wanted to avoid. So then that's it. Make sure we save that. And then one really important consideration is this checkbox here that is annoyingly hidden. It always bugs me because the options are you can target presence or interest, and that is people regularly in or who've shown interest in your included locations. And they say this is recommended, but I disagree. I disagree a lot with that statement because it's the interest part that is problematic, right? Because if someone has an interest in Collingwood, Google is saying it doesn't matter where they are located, they will still be shown your ad. So ways in which this can be positive is for tourism, right? If people show an interest in Toronto, but they are in South America, then Google will show this, show them a tourism ad based on their interest in that location. But for anything else, it's not effective. I don't think, if you don't want to target people from, again, all around the world, you don't want to select the interest, presence or interest. You just want presence, so that these are people in or regularly in your included locations. And I mean, that's what's annoying is that like when you set up those locations, the presence option is sort of what you would assume because you're putting those pins exactly where you want to target. But Google is trying to they're trying to expand your audience in a way that just I don't think is effective. Again, unless you're in, tourism, hospitality, something like that, where, you might be trying to attract people who have an interest in the location. But most of our clients do not. So we're going to check that off and move right along. Next option you have is language. Of course, you can add multiple languages to your campaign. For the purpose of this, we're going to keep it English, of course. And then audience segments. They've got it sort of hidden. You have to hit the drop down. This is where you can really kind of layer on different what they call audience segments. So segments of the population that can be kind of honed in on. So as an example, you might choose something like music lovers. So these are people who have an affinity to music, media, and entertainment. Again, using this guitar store as our example. The problem, though, with that, it can be good and bad. So essentially, if we're only targeting a small geographical area, by adding in another layer of targeting, we're going to really limit the audience to a point where you can get so limited that your ad just will not show. Like, so if you're just if you're only trying, let's say you're trying to target people in Toronto who are searching for guitar keywords that we're going to put in. That's already like a pretty limited segment of the population. So then if you add on an audience segment that says, now only show it to people in Toronto who are searching for these keywords, but who've also been identified to be music lovers, it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller, right? So that's where it can be, a pretty challenging approach, but that's where you want to play with like big geographical area. So if you went all of Canada, but then did an audience segment of music lovers, then it's a lot more you're segmenting it, but you're not limiting yourself by going too small in that audience. So for the purpose of this, I'm going to leave that off. But audience segments, I will point out too, is how you can also set up those retargeting ads that I mentioned earlier. So if you go browse and you go how they've interacted with your business, website visitors, and you can select, I have a segment of all Canadian users. So for my Google Analytics GA4, I can say all Canadian users who have browsed my website, show them my ads, follow them. But again, usually that's better for display and, performance max, that kind of thing. But just wanted to point that out. That's where you can find that setting. So for the purpose of this, we're not going to put an audience segment on top of that because we're already sort of targeting a pretty small geographical area. And then moving right along for broad match keywords, I'd recommend leaving that on. I don't know if it's worth getting into. There's different types of keywords that you can add in terms of like how broad Google will interpret those. Using broad match is a good way to start because it does kind of keep things broad, and then you can sort of hone things in as your campaign runs, and you'll start seeing Google will show you what keywords are popping up or what queries are generating ad results, and you can look at those and go, well, that's not appropriate. I'm going to put it as a negative keyword, and so that's a way. Or you can also add more keywords that way too. But again, for the purpose of this, we're just going to keep it broad. It's a good way to start. Um, without getting too technical there, but then one of the last ones we've got is automatically created assets. Um, this is turned off, and I recommend that. What it is essentially is the option to have Google go to your website, grab content, images, copy, and create headlines and different keywords for you. I never find that very effective, so I would recommend keeping that off. I do recommend popping this open more settings because, again, they sort of hide things in here. The main thing is the date, start and end date. So especially if you're managing your ad account yourself, I've had some clients, they just forget about it. And well, it wasn't when they were clients, of course, but when they're trying to manage an ad account by themselves, they forget about it. And 6 months down the line, they realize like they've been spending money that they didn't even know about. And it can be, really annoying and costly when, especially if it's like a holiday ad and it's not even the holidays. If it's, you forgot about it and still running your Christmas ads in February, then that's can be a costly mistake. So I definitely recommend, putting an end date, at least a month, to just kind of remind yourself or stay on top of it. Even a start date, a couple days out, so that if it takes you a bit of time to get this all built out, you're sort of working towards that start date of whatever it is. And then the important thing to note too is that once you hit, November 30th, the campaign ends. You don't have to redo this whole process over again. You just come into your settings and extend the date for another month, and it'll keep running. But again, it just kind of forces you to stay on top of it and make sure it is still running. And then there's also ad schedules. So if you wanted to schedule what time of day your ad runs, you can do that. And that's really the only major thing for people to be aware of in there. And then we're going to hit next. So what this is going to do is we're getting into our keyword generation and our actual ad creation and copy. So I'm going to just leave this as is. I'm going to go generate. So it's gone ahead and generated everything for you. So it's using an AI tool. There's this chat tool that is kind of interesting. It's pretty new. So I don't have a lot of experience with using it, but I essentially had used I've used it for our previous example. But essentially what I want to say at this point is that, so we're at the keywords and ad section of the setup, and specifically the ad group. So there is a hierarchy to our Google ad campaigns, where we've got a campaign level at the top. Within the campaign, we can have multiple ad groups. And so within each ad group, you can have multiple ads as well. And so each ad group can be targeted to a specific theme or product, whatever you want. And like I like to make them, more specific than what we've got here. Because what we've got here is pretty generic, right? It's like just buy guitar online, guitar shop. It's very broad. I like to sort of think about things in terms of buckets. So creating a bucket of keywords specific to, let's say, like electric guitars versus acoustic guitars, and then maybe bass guitars, right? Because those are potentially like three different people, different types of people who might be looking for those products. You can also do it by brands. So like you'd have your Fender ad account, ad group, you'd have your Gibson ad group, and so on and so forth. These are guitar brands for anyone who is not aware. But so that way we can get a lot more specific, not only with the keywords, but also with the ad copy itself, which just can be far more effective than just a broad guitar shop, guitar store. Those can be just, really broad, generic, and not as effective as someone searching for like, this specific electric guitar. When we get specific, we can really hone in on a target audience a lot more. So I'm going to put in electric guitars into the enter the product. I'm going to update the keyword suggestions, replace, hit yes, replace, get rid of those ones and put in some new ones. We can also add more. So by typing in the ad product or service, we can get more suggestions. So electric guitar accessories. We can even go brands, like I said, Fender, Fender electric guitars. If you hit comma space, it'll punch it in. I'm not actually much of a guitar person. These are the only two brands that I actually know. Oops. Oh. So then, again, we're going to update suggestion, hit yes, replace, and just hoping to get a few more options in there. But we can build it out. So one example that I had done was that I went into ChatGPT and I just asked it for keywords for an electric guitar specific ad campaign, and here's what it gave me. I'm just going to paste it in. And you can see it's quite extensive. It's way more extensive than what Google was giving me there. And I kind of like that. And so again, you can just, you can type these in however you want. You don't have to necessarily just take what they give you. You can delete these from here if any of these are not, let's say, affordable electric guitars. Is not appropriate. We sell high-end guitars, so delete that one out, not a problem. And they're going to try and give us some other suggestions. You can hit view, and you can review them if there's any that you don't like. These all look pretty good, but I mean, if there was one that you didn't like, maybe you don't sell Gibson actually, you can hit apply, and it's just going to add those onto the list. So there we go. Like we've got a good selection of keywords there. And we're going to go down to the actual ad creation. So this is where we can put in, where we're going to send people, theguitarfactory.com. And we can skip display path. We can put in a phone number as well if we wanted to generate leads via phone number. But then headlines. So here's where we see all the different headlines. So it's already populated it automatically with some suggestions there. Now, what we want to look at is this blue bar up here, which is giving us our ad strength. Right now it's saying it's poor, which is ironic because Google themselves created it. So you'd think they'd be better at it. But that's where we need a bit of human intervention to improve these. And what we can see here are these blue circles with, so headlines, we're getting a blue check mark. So that's good. We're getting a blue check mark on make headlines unique. At least they did that much. But we're missing popular keywords in those headlines. So what we can do is we can click on some of these, or we go more ideas. And so it's saying improve strength by including these popular keywords from this ad group. So clicking on them doesn't do anything. What we want to do is come down here and just type in some of those that we saw. So professional electric guitars, Fender electric guitars, best electric guitars. And you can see as I start typing those, this has gone up. So we're not quite at the check mark, but our ad strength went from poor to good. So if we keep doing that, and now when we come back in here, we see, okay, we're getting some check marks on these ones. What's another one we could do? Electric guitars, high quality electric guitars. How about that one? And we want to, look and see, okay, Google went and put some of these in here. Learn to play an instrument. Again, pretty generic, broad, not what we're trying to sell. We're not selling lessons, we're selling electric guitars. So high quality guitars. Ooh, and you got to keep an eye on this as well. They need to be under 30 characters. So that one's 29, just made the cut. I don't think I can fit electric in this headline. So huge selection of electric. See, yeah, we're running over 34 characters, so that will not fit. But that's okay. We're going to look at one more time in here and see electric. Okay, electric guitar deals. I know I said we're a high-end guitar store, but let's just see if we can get that check mark. Electric guitar deals. I'm just punching in a bunch of stuff here. I still haven't got that check mark. Electric guitar brands. There you go. Let's try that. There we go. Electric guitar brands. Anyway, we're not quite there, but you get the idea. You want to keep refining these, get that check mark, make sure you get your ad strength to good. Doing the same with unique descriptions. You can view ideas and add those in. Try and get those check marks. That's all you got to do. Another pro tip is go back to ChatGPT. I mean, they do have this chat feature here. Again, I haven't used it too much. It's probably, getting to the point of giving pretty good suggestions, but ChatGPT is still a pretty great resource for creating these types of headlines and body copy descriptions. But moving right along, you also want to add images. So yes, you can add images to your search ads. These are they're really small, but it can really help make your ads stand out. So you can add your logo as well as different images. So, for this particular ad group, you'd want to add in, some pictures of electric guitars, maybe people playing electric guitars, whatever is applicable or appropriate. Definitely get those images added in there. You want to put your business name. That's helpful. Your logo. And site links. So site links they show up underneath the main search ad. And so if we think about this guitar, specifically this electric guitar campaign that we're setting up, site links for that could be different brands. So that's where we could get really specific. Fender guitars, used guitars is a good one. But that essentially it gives more specific links if someone's looking for something, that we can hopefully pinpoint with that, and bring them right to the page that they are looking for, right? Because instead of just sending people to your homepage, we do tend to lose a lot of people there when it's busy. If they're looking for something specific, like used guitars, essentially, like as this one shows here, if they don't see it on your homepage and your main navigation, they might get lost and they'll back out. So by adding the site links, they can click on that used guitar link, land on that page, and there's everything that they were looking for. It's just really great in that way. So definitely make sure you fill out those site links. And there's even more asset types as well, which you should check out, including promotions, prices, structured snippets, lead forms. This is kind of interesting. So not if you're doing a sales campaign, but if you are like us, a service-based business, you can actually create a lead form right in the ad itself to, get people to put in their information and for you to contact them. There's also call outs. They're kind of like structured snippets. It's just like extra little bits of text that they can add in there. Things like, the call outs are more things like free shipping and, free returns or something like that. So yeah, just different keywords or things that you can add to your ad to make it more enticing for people, right? Catch their attention, and bring them in. That's why these assets are really great, because it just really arming Google with all this info, all these assets to make the strongest ad possible. Locations. So if you have a physical store, you can add your location there too. And hopefully drive in-store traffic as well. So again, make sure, you fill out as many of those that are applicable, and in all the ways that you can to be relevant for your, in this case, electric guitar ad group. And we're going to hit next. And now is time for us to select our budget. So, this is always a big question. When we did the live webinar, it was the first question that anyone asked was, how much does this cost? Or how much do I spend? And that's not surprising to me that it was the first question. But the problem is that it's such a hard question to answer. It's hard and it's not. It is and it's not. So, right off the bat, Google will give us this recommended average daily budget. In my experience, the daily budget is way higher than most, small businesses are comfortable spending. $17 or $20 a day can really add up, right? But it's all relative, meaning, it depends on what you're selling and, what is the projected return on that investment. So let's continue with the example of guitars. If you are selling like, your average guitar sale is let's say $1,000. So you have to take that in consideration, right? How much are you willing to spend to make a sale, considering that, your a percentage of your revenue is going towards making that sale. Is it, 10%? Is it 5%? What's your comfortable range? Because if it's let's say $100 is kind of your max, then that means for every $100 you need to make a sale. So if you're spending $1,000 a month, you need to make 10 sales from those ads in order to kind of hit that $100 cost per conversion goal. So, I would recommend, starting slow, building up to something like that. Because, it can take a little bit of time to just sort of get those bearings, hone in on that kind of appropriate or comfortable cost per conversion range. But once you get into the consistency of advertising regularly, you're gonna find what that sort of benchmark is, and then the goal will be to reduce it, right? Keep that cost per conversion amount. If we're saying it's $100 when we start, let's try and get it down. Like, let's get it to $75 next month and $50 the next month. Because that ultimately means that, your advertising is getting more efficient. You're making more sales from it, and your return on that investment is greater. So, if we use a different example of loose leaf tea or something, where, maybe your average sale is like $75, then obviously, you can't use the same benchmark of $100 cost per conversion, because that will bankrupt you. So, essentially you want to, think of something, or not think, but aim for something that is reasonable and fits your budget. So maybe it's like $6 cost per conversion. And so again, we sort of have to work backwards in that way of like, okay, if we understand what's a comfortable cost per conversion, we can determine, you know, a bit of a budget for the month, and then a target of how many sales we need to make in order to um, justify and see a return on this investment. So I hope that kind of explains it. Essentially, if we were to say, say we want to spend $1,000 on advertising, we can just pull up a calculator and figure out 1,000 divided by 30. So that would be $33 a day, which is, yeah, pretty substantial. So you could even, stick with the recommended. If your amount is like higher or whatever, you're comfortable with that, go for it. But I find most people, especially if they're starting out, might just go with a custom range and then start with something a little bit more manageable, like $10 a day kind of thing. For a small business, that's pretty reasonable. And again, depending on your geographical targeting, your audience size, if you're targeting all of Canada, a $10 a day budget is not going to go very far. Just another consideration, right? So keep that in mind. But once we have that set, we're going to go next. And that's going to bring us to this for review stage, where and I noticed too that it's given us a red flag on the budget. Your budget is lower than the advertisers' budgets than other advertisers' budgets, which may affect performance. Try raising it to at least $17.97 per day. They are going to tell you that a lot of times. You don't always have to listen. I would say, if that's a comfortable amount for you, and it's maybe a little scary to go up to almost double that, start with the smaller amount and see what happens. See, is there is the ad performing? And if it's not, then you can reassess that budget amount. You can make changes to any of these settings at any point during the run of your campaign. So again, we're just going to review sort of all the different options that we've set, and you're going to hit publish, and that will put it into a review stage. And, in the case of this example, I have it set to start in just a couple of days. So as soon as it gets reviewed and approved, then it will be ready to go and hopefully up and running for the 26th of October. So that is setting up your ad campaign. I did want to potentially look at ways to make improvements, but essentially, it'll be back on your dashboard. There's going to be different options there, and things to keep in mind in terms of optimizing your ad. Again, there was that ad score that we saw, that the ad score that we saw when we were setting things up, the longer your ad runs without you making any changes, the more that optimization score is going to drop. So you're going to want to, just continually pop in there, review your account, your optimization score, and make some of the recommendations or make some of the recommended changes to continually, keep it fresh, keep it well optimized. So meaning your score is closer to 100, and that way it just keeps performing at its best. So hopefully that covered everything without too much technical babble, but that is our Google advertising webinar. Hopefully you found that helpful. Don't miss out too. We've got another one coming up on November 6th called Winning SEO Strategies. So we're getting into search engine optimization to boost your website traffic. And I will say that Google Ads is a good SEO strategy, and or Google Ads can help SEO, and SEO can help Google Ads. So these are really two great webinars to go back to back, because they're two different strategies that can really help each other in a lot of different ways. So be sure to check that out at getdigitalsupport.ca. Thanks for watching. And if there's any other topics that you'd like to see as a webinar or resources on our website, drop us a line via the form on our contact page, and we will hopefully see you at the next webinar, workshop, whatever. Hopefully we see you there. Bye for now. Until next time.